Welcome to the Authors Adventure Summit. I know you've heard that phrase several times. I am your host, Lisa DeSpain. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. I hope you've gotten a lot of good, actionable steps that you can take to market your books more effectively. I wanted to take this opportunity to not only thank you for being on the journey with me, but also to thank some of the people who sent their feedback. And, it's just been a real pleasure to get to connect with some of you on a closer basis. I've had some amazing strategy calls as we've been doing this summit and have kind of heard some of your stories. And it's just been a real pleasure to get to connect with you on a higher level. Also, I've enjoyed thoroughly our experts, and it is so much fun to get to talk to people I've looked up to in the industry for years and years, to get their stories, their information, get to pick their brains. It's just been an adventure of a lifetime for me. My sincerest hope for you as you go forward into this journey that you're on is that you experience extravagant success. I want you to have everything your heart would ever desire in your publishing journey. So, what I'm going to be doing over the next few minutes is just kind of summarize some of the things that we learned, and then also to give you some action steps that you can take to really take your book to the next level. I know it's very, very easy to get overwhelmed with the sheer amount of information that we've gotten over the past several days, and I don't want people to get stuck in that place where they just don't know what to do next. So, first of all, let's talk about the book product itself. This is your message. This is the thing that you are taking to the people who you want to read your book. Your message needs to be as good as you can possibly make it. There are some things you can do even in the planning stages of a book to really get a great concept for your book project. One of the things that I'm not sure we talked about, or maybe we did at some point, but one of the ways you can do the research is to go out to people in your genre who are already doing well with their book. Go to their book pages on Amazon and take a look at what the comments are saying. You may be tempted to look at only the positive comments, but I would encourage you to also look at the negative ones. You want to look for people who are not 100% satisfied with the purchase and then find out why. What is it that the author maybe missed or didn't address properly, or whatever it was about the book that just didn't give the reader what they wanted. You can use that as a strategy for making your message more successful for the reader. You want your reader to have some sort of takeaway so that you've changed their life in some way. Now, if it's fiction, it's a slightly different situation. You can still look at your genre and find out what the positives and negatives were, and then you can incorporate that into your project. One of the ways you might do that is just see what the reader was expecting when they were reading the fiction and what the author did not deliver on. You can use that as you are going into your own project. So that's on the product side of things. You're going to want to spend some time with a professional editor and a professional proofreader. That is one of the things that I think a lot of people rush through is actually getting some professionals on your publishing team so that you can really put forth the best possible product and do it well so that it benefits you personally and also in your business. So of course then the next step is packaging. We learned from a lot of different packaging and distribution options. I know, like, when we looked at packaging of the cover and in the interior, we had a ton of useful information about really what makes packaging what it is. What is it about a cover that makes it a bestseller versus a cover that's obviously self-published? Another thing you can do there is go out and do your research again and find out the exact elements that seem to make a cover more professional. So if you're looking at your target audience, or you're looking at your target book, you can look at all the top sellers in that category and look at the covers and look at the consistency with quality, and look at the thumbnails. Is the title easy to read? Is it bright and colorful? Does it stand out? So all of those elements are things that you can start to build with your own book project. I would highly encourage some of our entrepreneurs to take their time in the packaging area. The problem I see with entrepreneurs is they're ready to launch like as soon as the book is written. And that is a strategy for kind of being a also, you've also played the game, but you maybe haven't done it as well as you possibly could. Typically, entrepreneurs are great about the message and they're great about promotion, but they rush through the packaging side of things. My thing to you would be just take your time here. You want to put forth the professionalism that you put forth in your business already and really take those steps and get those people in place who have done this before and who do an extremely good job for their clients. One of our cover designers, I believe is Derek Murphy, he is one of the few cover designers I've ever worked with who actually gets cover dimensions correct. It is one of my pet peeves that every creative cover designer typically will send a cover that is not to the correct dimensions. I don't know why this is. I don't know if the right brain takes over, but they just cannot get the dimensions of the book right. So what happens is those files, when they're uploaded to your printer, your print-on-demand printer, they can't be used because they're not the right size. So somebody has to go in and do remedial work there to make sure the cover is the correct size. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to get a cover designer who does it right. We talked with Tammy Deaver about the importance of the interior, and I don't know about you, but I loved that presentation because she showed us very clearly what was good and what was not so good about a cover, and what was good and what was not so good about the interior. So that's another thing to think about is your interior. So when somebody is a professional in their industry and they look at the interior of a book, you can tell within the first 5 seconds if it was professionally set, if it's professionally typeset. It is a huge pet peeve of mine to see a book out there, another pet peeve, I know, I'm sorry. It's a huge pet peeve of mine to see a book out there that was not professionally designed. It's got widows and orphans all over the place. It has double dashes. It has space, end dash space. All of these things are like, no, no, no. This is the basic, 2 spaces after a paragraph. Nobody does that anymore. It's not needed anymore. It creates rivers in the content. So those are things that will brand you as a self-published author, or I mean, even with publishers, they frequently do things wrong. Like starting a chapter any old place instead of on the right-hand side. Now, you can, of course, make that design decision on a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, you're going to want to follow the rules unless the situation warrants something different. All of that is packaging. Also, distribution is critically important. One of the things that Judith Briles talks about is when an author distribution partner or an author publisher relationship goes wrong. I don't believe that people set out in business to knowingly bilk their customer. I don't believe businesses start out that way. I believe there's a cash flow situation in those cases where the publisher is taking from royalties to pay for operating expenses, and eventually some of those people, they are in a situation where they cannot pay royalties. It's not that they don't want to, but they just can't. Sometimes you will get royalty statements that are just confusing, and so you may have that sense that something's not quite right. I don't know that that's always a situation where the publisher is knowingly trying to hurt you. There are tons of providers out there, and you can do your own research, like she says, where you Google somebody's name and you find, or their company, and you find out if they have disgruntled customers. Not every disgruntled customer situation is the publisher's or the provider's fault. There have been, probably I can count on two fingers, probably two clients I've had that there was no amount of care and attention that would have made them happy. And so sometimes, you know, negative reviews are not 100% warranted, but sometimes they are. So when you're looking at different publishers and providers, you just kind of want to do that due diligence and make sure that they don't have just tons of negative reviews out there. Some of the people she talked about specifically, I think started out okay. Like I said, I would be particularly leery of companies that offer to distribute your book, and I'm talking about self-publishing companies. I'm not necessarily talking about distributors like the ones that we talked to today, and I actually only picked the ones that I had full faith in. The ones that I'm talking about are self-publishers where they take on your rights as an author and they handle distribution for you. I believe those situations are the ones in which there is the greatest opportunity for malfeasance. Not that all of them do that, they absolutely do not, and I believe most of them are good. But we are seeing in the industry a situation where some providers have done the wrong thing and have not paid royalties out on a timely basis. So I would 100% do your due diligence on your distribution slash publisher, basically anybody who pays you royalties that come from other places. So like you can have a personal relationship, not personal, a direct relationship with Kindle, Nook, iTunes, Kobo, those guys. You can have a direct relationship with CreateSpace and with Ingram Spark, and you can have access to your sales information immediately. If you go through a third party, however, you have a situation where they are handling the information flow and the royalties and the checks that go out and the statements, and there can be a situation where you are not getting what you are due, and those would be the situations I would fully vet before going into them. 100% run it through a lawyer. Make sure that you've done your research to see if they've done the wrong thing with other authors. And then also, of course, referrals are fantastic. When you're researching a provider, such as a cover designer or an interior designer, or proofreader, or editor, it's totally cool to ask for samples. It is also totally cool to pay, usually, a portion up front and a portion at completion of the project. That usually keeps your provider kind of plugged into your project, and that's always good. I had a policy when I was doing ebook conversion and interior print design that everything was due at the end of the project. So I actually covered that objection ahead of time by asking for payment at the end. That is highly uncommon to do, and from a provider's standpoint can be quite a negative situation. But in my case, I was highly motivated to get things finished so I could finally get paid. Okay, so we talked about providers and we talked about packaging and just really spending the time to get packaging right. And then we are moving into promotion, and promotion is a function at every single level, with your messaging, with your things that you're giving to the reader, the entire reader experience and the entire reader takeaway. That is promotion. Your packaging is promotion. And so then that leaves us with strategies for promotion when the book is getting ready to launch, and ahead of time, and after that. So when is the best time to have your readers and to know who they are and know how to reach them? Obviously, that is 6 months ago. The next best time is today. So to reach your readers, there are some things you can do. There's some research you can do to find out who they are and what they want. The very first thing that you can do, and you can do this in the planning stage as well, when you're kind of building that list of people, the genre, what are the top books in my genre? What you can do is go do some reconnaissance on those authors. How are they interacting with their readers on Facebook? Sign up for their email list, watch their sequence. What are the emails they're sending out? How involved do they seem in their readers' experience? What is the value that they're giving to their readers? I would encourage you to not copy but emulate. You know, these are some strategies that have worked for them, and so it's highly likely that your readers will respond to the same strategies. Now, when you are doing your research and you're compiling this list of other authors who are similar to you, you can actually leverage that situation so that you have the opportunity to reach their readers in a different way. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so your author probably has a Facebook page or a Facebook group. I would encourage you to sign up for both of those places, and start looking at, like I said, the interaction between your author and their reader base. What you see will be highly indicative of what your readers want. When you're in there, you can provide value to the readers. You can make a name for yourself within that group, and then at some point there could be a situation where you get to offer something that you have for free to that group. At that point, you can post your offer on the thread, however they have their group rules, and then you can send the reader to your website to sign up for your freebie. And then at that point, at some point in your email sequence, you can invite somebody to join your author group. So now you have not only a traffic plan, but then also a nurturing plan so that you know what your reader wants. There are other ways to leverage your not affiliates yet, but your comparable authors to become affiliates. So there could be a situation where you reach out to the author and you say, hey, I want to feature your book on my blog. And that could be a situation where they are happy to promote for you, to let their people know that they have been featured on your blog and go to this blog to see the article. You can have a situation where you set up the opt-in where people can sign up for your newsletter or your freebie or whatever. But what we're doing is we're building traffic, and we're building it based on somebody else's audience. There are other ways of doing this, whether it's like some sort of partnership agreement with an affiliate, or, you know, like I'm giving away your book on my website. I would like to invite you to be a speaker on my website. I would like, you know, all of these situations kind of leverage that relationship that you are having with the person who is similar to you, who has the reader base that you would also want. Now, we talked with tons and tons, not tons of experts, we talked with several experts who had tons of ideas. So what happens here is it's so easy to get overwhelmed with the sheer amount of information. I don't know about you, but there was just so much, you know, so many notes I took, and you probably heard me scratching away on several interviews. That was me taking notes because I hadn't heard that information before. So there are just tons of things that you can do as an author to drive people, you know, drive traffic to your book. What I would encourage you to do is pick a couple of things, one or two things that you will just put 100% effort behind. We talked with one of our experts, Kimberly Gravis, about the book launch and what it takes to pull off a really successful book launch. So she had a whole thing where you set up, you know, what is my goal? What is the method that I'm going to get there? Well, my challenge to you is to write everything down. You know, you typically, if you have 20 ideas in your head and you want to implement every single one, you will get overwhelmed and you won't be able to implement anything. So what I would say is get your book release date written down, and then get your launch plan before the book release and then after the book release written down. And so then you know, as you are doing these things, that you have completed this particular part of the plan. Your plan can change and modify as you go. That's totally fine, but be sure to have it written down so that you're not in a place where you're thinking about it 24/7. You know what you're doing. You have a good strategy. Now, how do you pick your strategies? Okay, so the deal is, some of us are introverts and some of us are extroverts. Some of us are tech savvy and some of us are not. Do not pick a method that will be painful for you. You want to pick a method that you can 100% get behind. In other words, if you don't do social media, don't do social media. It is not necessary. You can do book signings. You can do library, what are they called? When you go to a library and you read a book, you can do that. You can do speaking engagements where you're selling your book from the stage, where you're bringing out parts and bits of your information from the stage. You can do conferences. You could do bulk sales. You could do any number of things that don't require you to be a social media guru, don't require you to run Facebook ads, don't require you to do things that are not congruent with who you are. You could be 100% into social media and have a large Twitter following and have a large Facebook following, and that is your primary method for attracting readers. Totally cool. 100% the things that you need to sell books, and I see this across the board without fail. If you want to sell books, you must have a large email list. A large email list could be as few as 1,000 people who are 100% tied into you, love what you do, and will talk about you and be your book evangelist. You do not need to have a list of 20,000 to sell books. It helps, but if you want to be very happy with your author journey, you must have an email list that is growing on a consistent basis, and you must be giving them what they want. Okay, so we've established that. I've seen it across the board. It's uncanny. If I'm talking to an author and they say, I'm just not getting the kind of book sales I want, I'm not getting the results I want, my first question is, how big is your email list? If it's under 1,000, you will not be getting the results that you want. So what do you do with that? First of all, if you want big results, you have to take big action. It has to be the kind of action that probably you've never taken before. It's going to put your life out of balance for a short period of time. If you can work hard for a short period of time, everything else will be much easier for you. So I've identified 5 ways to build your email list very, very quickly. We're talking within 3 months for the longest strategy, but it's 5 different ways. So you get training on 5 different ways. I will be launching this program after Summit is over. I do have a waitlist button down below, so click that if you want to be added to the waitlist. I would love to see you as part of the program. And within each of these 5 ways, there will be a way that speaks to you right away. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's a clear path to really getting the kind of people on my email list that I want. So start with that one and then move on to something else after that. You're going to want to try different strategies to see what really works for your ideal reader, what they want. It's just an incredibly powerful way to build a list very, very quickly. I personally am spending thousands of dollars to learn how to do this so that I can teach it to you. I've already implemented one of the strategies, and that of course is the Summit. It has been not only a wonderful way for me to connect with my favorite people, all of you, but also a way for me to be more visible in my industry. And that, working 18 years, but kind of behind the scenes, it has been amazing to have the opportunity to become a little bit more visible, and I really love that. One of my speakers, I think it might have been Dr. Briles, said, so how did you, where did you come from? I haven't heard your name. I didn't know anything about you. And I said, well, I'm an overnight success story. It just took 18 years. So it could be the same for you. So that would be something that I would love to invite all of you to just get more information about. I will put the link down below to just join the wait list, and that just puts you very first in line for the program when it releases after Summit. So, okay, so all of my advice to you, don't get overwhelmed. Pick 1 or 2 things that you can completely get behind as you go into your book launch. Start making email list building a huge priority for you in your author business. And one of the things too is just think bigger. As I'm talking with authors, I I hear the frustration. You know, they want their books to sell, they want to be seen and be known, but my advice to them is it's not always all about book sales. We talked to several people. I think Sherry Stock was one of them, where she talked about the ability to take not a project, oh, what is it? You've got a not a mission. Oh, what's the word? Anyway, it's the one where you have a vision for what you want to see happen in the world. All of you wordsmiths have this word already. I can't think of it. But you have this vision for what you want to see in the world. And so that vision tends to wrap itself into your work just kind of naturally. Well, that means that you have an opportunity to take that cause. It's a cause. You have an opportunity to take that cause and speak about it in person. Speak about environmental issues if that's one of your things and it's in your book. You have a perfect opportunity to speak about environmental issues. Anything like that would be completely congruent with what your book is all about. It's another opportunity for you to not only be visible, but also make additional income on your expertise. Every fiction author typically has to go through some sort of research process to get the concepts and the ideas and the facts about what they have. And so, like Sharon Hamilton, I think is another great example of this, where she talks about um, SEAL Team Brotherhood. Yeah, her the Brotherhood series. Okay, so her thing that she had to research was Navy SEALs, and what was that training process like, and what was it like with her son in the SEALs program. And so all of this stuff is like super fascinating, and she could turn that into a signature speech where she talks about that entire process. Same thing with you. You probably have some sort of message that you're kind of weaving through your books, whether you know it or not. Maybe it's like family conflict, and so you brought some of your own personal whatever into it, and you can speak on family conflict, and you can speak on these topics. And that's another great way to be more visible with your readers. Maybe, a lot of people have trouble coming up with blog posts on the regular. So what you can do is you can have a video instead of a written blog post. Maybe you have a video of you just talking to your camera like I'm doing here today, and then that becomes part of your content that you can offer to your email list, and you just kind of have a closer connection with them when they actually see you and hear your voice. One more thing about the email list and some of the content that you can provide. We talked with Lori Hardigree about content buckets, where you have the different topics that you address in your book, and so then each topic can become a bucket. So like within that topic area, what are the things that go into that bucket? Like, okay, if it's a business book, okay, maybe first of all we're going to talk about how to create a best-selling offer. Okay, well then we've got offers. How to keep your clients interested in what you have. Now we have client nurturing. So all of these things become a bucket, and then you can start to build your articles and build your content based on what's in that bucket, and topic after topic after topic. And if you think in terms of buckets of content, then it makes it tons easier to actually deliver that content to your ideal readers. Also, if you do that method, you can build a sales funnel of sorts so that you're running Facebook ads to the content. They have the option to opting into your list at the end of that blog post or that video, and then you can put them into a sales funnel that actually builds them to a book sale, a group program, one-on-one coaching, whatever. All of that is possible. Another way to keep your readers entertained and plugged in to you as you are getting ready for a book launch is to give them content that is related to the book but is not the book. So I've been talking with a lot of fiction authors who I've suggested this strategy to, and it's been well received so far. So in this concept, what you would do is you would pick a character out of your book whose story has not fully been told, and then you would start to tell that story to your email list on a week by week basis. So every time they open their email, they get a new installment in the new character development. You can promote that through your blog, just say, hey, get the latest installment in so and so story, opt in here. And then what you can do is you can say, only these people in my email list get that content. And so you kind of make that your special group, your VIPs or your beta readers or whatever. So that becomes your tribe. So that's been a really fun thing to talk about. It could be characters, it could be locations, it could be maybe some, like one author, she had environmental science as part of her book, and so I said, there could be some point at which you can offer additional information about that and offer that to your readers if they join the email list. It's just extra, it's just bonus, it's just a way for you to connect with your reader without always talking about your book, because that does get old. We also have identified some really fun interactive ways to bring your reader into your book even after book purchase. So Tamara Monosop, she was one of the very first speakers. She talked about how to build your book so that interactivity is built into it. She also had really a very fun plan for inviting affiliates into your book. So her concept was, at the beginning of the book, when they first download it, you can add a link to your website where you have an introduction video. Thank you for purchasing my book. I really hope you love it. Be sure to pay attention to chapters, blah, 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 whatever you want to say there. But what you're doing is you're tying your reader into you. Video right now is huge, and I think it's because people really miss the one-on-one, face-to-face connection that we're just kind of not having so much in our lives right now with social media. I mean, for instance, today I am sitting here all by myself talking to a camera, and that's bizarre. I mean, it's bizarre to think about. So what I want to encourage you to do is just give your readers that interaction with you, and then throughout the story, you do have the opportunity to add additional videos. So it's just a quick link through, right? So in your ebook, totally can be done. You send a link to the website. They can click out and go to your website, check out a little video on maybe the location of what you're talking about, maybe a quick little something about the character, or if like I said, if there's some science that needs to be explained, you can do that. You can also add a QR code to your book so that somebody can do basically the same thing. They click through on their phone through the QR code to your website, they get that content. Totally doable. So then also case studies would be another fantastic way to bring other people into your book. Elena Rarick actually talked about sponsorships, which I thought was a fascinating concept, where you bring companies in who maybe want to help sponsor your book, and so then when they do that, they pay a small fee to get to do that, to get to write a chapter or in some way contribute to your book. Case studies can be done in a very similar way. Tamara Monosop, like I said, has that in her book, where she offers I don't even remember how many case studies, but she had several case studies with people who had used her information and got results from it. And then if you click through, on the QR code, you go to Tamara's website to watch a quick 2-minute video on how that worked for them. So if you can imagine, all of those people were super excited to help promote Tamara's book. And she got publicity from this, she got to bestseller status. I mean, just fantastic things happened. And it was just because she gathered up a group of people who were happy to promote the book and very excited that they are now featured in a book. So, fantastic concept. So that's one of the ways you can build in interactivity in your books, and I believe because it is so underutilized, it will really set you apart from your competitors. I think it's totally a fantastic idea. Okay, so where am I going now? Okay, so we talked about tons of different ways to promote. There are, of course, tons of services out there that you can use. We talked about in person, we talked about social media. Um, I hope I'm stressing enough the importance of an email list. It 100% will distinguish you, like if you have a large engaged email list, you will sell books and you will see success. If you don't, you won't. You can mess around with the algorithms on Amazon, and you can spend tons of money on Facebook ads, and you can, like get in the right categories and enter the right keywords and have a fantastic book description. But really, the name of the game is getting eyeballs on your book page. And once they get to your book page, those things begin to matter. But the hardest part is getting people to your page. And so having an email list will make this tons easier. Okay. Okay, so the different services, like we talked about getting into libraries. We talked about local ways to get into libraries. I think Robin Cutler talked about that with Ingram Spark. Sherry Stock again, she talked about that. Alinka Rutkoshka, I don't think I did it wrong again. She was fantastic. She talked about getting into libraries. She also talked about foreign rights, and that's one of the things that's kind of an advanced concept in publishing. Publishers have been doing this for years and years, and it can be a really, really great way to get into foreign countries. Typically what happens in that case is a foreign rights company will come to you. They're basically a foreign publisher. They will come to you, request the rights for their country. They will get the translation done. They usually pay a fee up front for that, right? They will get the translation done for you, and then they will do printing and distribution in their country, and then they will send you a royalty based on that, and that can be a real revenue stream for publishers, and it is open to authors as well, just working directly. What else? Advanced concepts. All the different services. I mean, we're talking BookBub. I've written down tons and tons of things of different concepts and things that I personally would like to research to find out, what works and what doesn't. But name of the game, once again, is building that email list and building your group of engaged, excited readers. And I think that's my takeaway. That is my takeaway from this entire thing is take your author business in your own hands. It is yours, and it is your journey. We are not in a place where authors can release a book and expect people to find them. We're not in that place. There are a million books published every year, and so actually having somebody find you on Amazon or wherever you're distributed is like a 1 in a million shot. It's just not going to happen. So you kind of have to take control here, and you kind of have to make the decision that you're going to do the hard, necessary work to promote your book. On that note, I would invite you to think bigger. We are not only talking about book sales, but we are talking about an author business. Russell Brunson put a great book out there called .com Secrets. If you want to see a beautiful example of a sales funnel that works, I would invite you to download Russell Brunson's book. And it's like a $7, cover the cost of shipping and handling. I mean, that book probably cost $3, $2 maybe if he printed in the thousands to produce, and probably a couple of bucks to send it to us. So he's making maybe some money on it. He might be breaking even, but good for him. So the deal is you enter your email to get that book, and then the next step is you go to a $37, what's called a tripwire in the industry, but this is another offer where you can get his audiobook that has an additional chapter in it for free, and then you can add that to your basket. Then his next step, he knows that when he sends out thousands and thousands of books, a percentage of those people will join his, well, they're going to buy the $37 thing, and then a percentage who also bought the book will join his group program. So now we're talking, you know, $500, $1,000. I'm not sure what the cost is. And then a certain portion of those people will ask for some sort of private consulting or a little bit more one-on-one attention from his team. And then a certain percentage of those people will take advantage of his high ticket offer. I'm about to blow your mind here. His high ticket offer is identified by him as the biggest, best, highest value that he could possibly give the client. And so what do you think that costs? It is $100,000 to set up. They ensure that your funnel will work, and then they take a percentage of your sales from that funnel up to $1 million. So what we've looked at here, this is the value ladder, is what he calls it. We've taken a teeny tiny $7 purchase, becomes a $37 purchase, which still kind of low on the ladder here, becomes a $500 to $1,000 purchase, becomes a $3,000 to $5,000 purchase, I'm guessing, I don't know. And then at some point, somebody is going to want the biggest possible offer that they can get and the most attention and the most value from him. So as we're wrapping this video up, I would like to encourage you to think about what it is that you can offer that gives your reader the highest possible value from you. A lot of nonfiction authors will have no trouble in this area. They can start with a book sale. Next step might be a DIY program that you offer online for $47 or $97 or whatever. Your next step offer could be a call, you know, like a $200 call, 1 hour to give you some, give the person some advice, whatever. Your next step offer could be a group program where you have a small number of people in your program. It's a lot more of your time and attention, but we're still talking about a group program. You might have some Q&As, you're going to have some training material, they'll have a way for them to contact you and get one-on-one assistance. That's going to be in the 1,000 to 5,000 area. So then the next thing might be a VIP day where they have your attention for the entire day and you work through some business problems they have. They end up with some clear actionable steps that they can take. That could be even more money. You know, $5,000 VIP days, $10,000 VIP days are not outside the realm of possibility. I've seen it, and it's all over the place. The next step could be some one-on-one coaching. It could be some done-for-you work. It could be a mastermind long-term program. Those start to be bigger and bigger. You know, you could be talking about 5 figures in that situation. It's not uncommon for a mastermind to go for $25,000 for a year-long program with varying levels of interactivity based on the host of the program. So, you know, as you're kind of mapping out your strategy, I want you to dream big and think about what is the best possible outcome that I can have with this information that I have, this expertise that I have. How can I deliver this to the world in a way that impacts people on a really, really high level? Fiction authors, it might be a little bit harder for you, but there is something. It could be speaking, it could be telling parts of the story, like we talked about the cause, you know, where you have a cause that you're passionate about. And so you can get really far into that cause and possibly affect change. You know, I mean, how incredible would it be to have a cause that you're actually able to make happen because of you and your passion and your work. There could be a situation where you become an instructor to other writers. You know, if you've written a novel and you've done reasonably well with it, you know, you've got great reviews and you have great downloads and people who are excited about you and your work, you could have a situation where you teach other authors to do the same. There could be a situation where you, Rocky Callan, I love her story. I love her business plan. I want to copy it, but I can't because I'm not a copycat. Well, I am a copycat, but I'm not going to do it exactly the same. But anyway, what she does is she does a writing retreat once a year in, once or twice a year? I'm not sure. At least once in Bali, where she gathers, I believe it's 8 women together, and exclusively women at this point. Guys, it could happen at some point, I don't know. But she will gather 8 people together at her Bali location, and it's a combination of coaching and relaxing and getting away from everything and having different interesting activities, which can 100% spur creativity. And so there could be a situation where you get to do something like that as a writer, fiction or nonfiction. So basically, what I'm asking you to do is, dream bigger with this. Like, what is the best possible outcome, and what can you really work towards? You know, selling books is great, but it shouldn't be everything. There's a lot more and tons more potential for you to impact the world, reach people, change their lives, and really, build the life with your writing journey that you deserve. As a creative person, my hats, I'm in awe of you. I mean, having the opportunity to work with authors for as long as I have, I'm just in awe of the creative process and what you've put out to the world. Being from kind of behind the scenes where I'm doing a lot of technical things, I get it. I get that you maybe don't want to learn the tech and you don't want to learn how to lay a book out, and I'm here to say you really don't have to. There's tons of ways of doing things, whether you hire out or you only pick the things you like to do, but there's tons of different ways to getting to that final goal, which is really your dream life, and that's what I'm excited about helping you do. That's kind of my purpose, is to just help you get that extravagant, impactful, passionate, creative life that you want and deserve. So anyway, would love it if you wanted to get more information about the program I'm releasing, that is all about building a list really, really fast of people who are excited about you and your work. I'm calling it tentatively Raving Fans. I have the course completely lined up, but I'm not 100% sure about the title yet. But that's what it's all about, is building a email list of raving fans who are super excited about you and your work, and who hopefully we'll want to work with you even closer in the future. And I would love to work with you even closer in the future. That's it for now. I think I could talk forever, but once again, I thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I'm so excited I did this. Probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my years in the industry, and it's just been a pleasure to get to know a lot of you a lot better, and look forward to talking with you more in the future. So, bye!